What is up, chocolatiers? This is the top 10 favorite movies that I watched in 2024. Now, before I get right into it, I do have some honorable mentions. And so, with that, the honorable mentions are Twisters, Small Things Like These, Gladiator 2, Piece by Piece, Civil War, Transformers 1, Blink Twice, Anora, The Substance, and Fly Me to the Moon. Those are all movies that I really enjoyed that I believe are 10 out of 10 masterpieces, along with these 10 films I'm going to tell you on my list. And they just didn't make the cut. Making a top 10 list is very hard, especially when you do it the way I do. So I use my letterbox and I pretty much rank them every single week as I watch. So like recently, I watched Small Things Like These like a few weeks ago, and so it's like, okay, I think it's better than this, and so that helps me get my scores out, get my ranks, get my stuff like that. But like I said, they just didn't make the cut. But these top 10 movies, you're gonna be surprised because they surprised me. A lot of them did. Number 10, we've got Monkey Man. So Dev Patel stars in this movie. I believe it came out in February. It was really good, like really well shot. Action choreography was good, and the story actually really surprised me. Probably the best action film I've seen this year. Coming in at number 9, Inside Out 2. One of the few films that are animated this year that I really enjoyed, but not the last animated film on this list. Really emotional, really heart-wrenching. If you like the first one, you'll like this one. And I really, really enjoyed this film pretty much from the opening scene throughout. Coming in at number 8, we got Alien Romulus. This movie has pretty much my favorite opening shot and almost closing shot of this year. That is taken by another film. But it's just so well directed, so well acted. There's a few things in it that I would maybe tweak just as an Alien fan, but pretty much everything else is just pure sci-fi horror. And as a big horror fan, I was like, man, gotta include this on the list. I actually believe it is my favorite horror film of the year as well. Coming at number 7, we've got Saturday Night. A little movie that I was excited for, but not super excited for. I thought it would crack my top 10. Just pretty much the performances of all these actors playing, who they are. Like from the actor that plays Chevy Chase, for example, his scene with J.K. Simmons is just so crazy and just so well thought out and written well. Just going into this history of the first Saturday night. And so if you're a big fan of Saturday Night Live, even if you're not, just the acting alone, this has probably some of my favorite character acting pieces in film this year. Now coming in at number 6, a film that really surprised me. I can't believe it's on my top 10. I can't believe it's, to me, it's better than these other movies. That's Wicked Part 1. I'm not a big musical fan. I like every now and then, like I like The Greatest Showman. I like La La Land. But even so, I like those more for the stories. And, I'm a big Wizard of Oz fan. It's my mother's favorite movie, so it's pretty much, been in my household. But I've never read the Wicked books, never seen the play, nothing like that. And I was not excited, not the biggest Ariana Grande fan. And I sat there and watched it. Mind blown. The music's great. I do feel like, as a story, this is kind of like a Dune situation where I'm kind of glad they're getting a part 2. I'm very excited for that. I would say my only complaint with this film isn't even in the film itself, it was the audience. One of the worst theater experiences I've ever had in my life. I had to actually go see it a second time so I could actually hear pretty much most of the third half of this movie. But it actually has one of my favorite closing shots and pretty much all my favorite songs this year, as far as like musical songs. This was a movie that blew me away, and this movie pretty much proves the main thing I try to prove on this channel is that you cannot judge a book by its cover, and you cannot go into films being biased, because I went into this film very negatively and I came out looking like a fool. Coming at number 5 is We Live in Time. Literally one of the few movies this year that actually made me cry. When a movie does that, when it makes a brother cry, but it's almost like a happy tear type of cry. This movie probably has my favorite ending to a film this year. Just the way they wrap up things in a nice little bow, but at the same time being sad while also being joyful and happy and hopeful for the future. Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh do such a wonderful job, and if it wasn't for some of these other films on the list, this could have been my number one easily. Coming in at number 4 is my last animated film on this list, The Wild Robot. Now, The Wild Robot, I was very excited for. Very, very excited for it. When I watched it, I was sitting over here and I was like, man, I am crying in this theater. I feel like if you're a parent, which I'm not, but if you are, I feel like it hits a lot closer to home. But having, younger siblings, stuff like that, I feel like the message still kind of remains kind of the same. And even if you're not, just watching this journey of somebody trying to go through the stages of motherhood and parenthood, and connect with this bond with somebody that, this mother didn't even know at the time. It's just outstanding. It's outstanding. Got a wonderful soundtrack, beautiful art. Like DreamWorks, they were already cooking with the last Puss in Boots movie. Now they're cooking with this. And it's outstanding to a T. Coming at number 3 is a little controversial movie. Pretty much just because people on the spectrum on Twitter will either think that this is a 10 out of 10, like I do, or you either think it's a 0 out of 10 and you think you're stupid for including on your top 15, 20, 30 list. That's Challengers. So Challengers probably has one of the most cracked soundtracks ever. I loved it so much. I listened to it for like almost 3-4 weeks after I watched the film. It's so awesome. It's like this retro synth, reminding me a lot of Tron. And I really just pretty much love this film because it has my favorite villain of the year, and that is Zendaya portraying a woman. Just the relationship between Tashi and these two guys. If you're on paper and you're watching this and you're kind of like, oh man, of course you like Challengers, whatever, you got to go watch this movie to know what I'm talking about. Like, just seeing this dynamic between like her literally going to be like, I'm going to leave you if you lose, to her own husband, and like just the relationship between Tennis and how it's almost like the game is her true love, and it's just so good. It's just so good. It literally has one of the best shots of the year, and that's like when they're playing tennis at the end, like the final match, and it's just so good. It's so awesome. It's amazing. And yeah, I'm surprised myself. It kept moving up and down, and finally, just recently, I was like, no. I was like, this movie is, I'm not going to be a wuss because other people don't like it. I was like, this is in my top 3. I was like, I love Challengers. It's so good. I was like, this movie has a cracked soundtrack. I was like, it has amazing direction, which I knew it already did because my boy just pretty much makes heat. And so, yeah, that's my number 3. Coming at number 2, there's a little bit of recency bias here, I'm being honest, because I literally just saw this movie like 2 weeks ago. But that is A Complete Unknown. So Timothée Chalamet is out here killing it as pretty much my favorite actor, so I will let you know there's a little bit of bias there. But, I'm going to be real with you. I feel like there's no bias with this movie because I'm not like the Bob Dylan fan, black, and so I'm just saying, it wasn't like I was like, man, I gotta go see that. But Timothy was up in it, and I pretty much have watched almost every movie this year that my theater has gotten. So I was like, bet, so I'm gonna go see that. So I hear good things about it, whatever, it's Oscar buzz. And so after seeing it, this movie's outstanding. It got me listening to Bob Dylan now. Just the way that he's able to change his voice. I heard he went through like 5-year like type of vocals and training and all this other stuff. He sounds just like his ass, and it's kind of crazy the way they make him look just like him. And the way that they portray this character that's very mysterious while also going through this type of journey. Also, this is working as my Complete Unknown review because I didn't review this movie. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you sit there and you're just like, man, this is so good. This is so great. Give me more. I need Timothy in more biopics, for sure. Coming in at number 1 You haven't already guessed it. Timothy Chalamet's taking 2 spots on my list. It's Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 was my favorite movie of the year when it came out. When I watched this, I said, no movie is going to come to this. Now, at the time of recording this, I have not watched Nosferatu yet, so that could be closer on this list. I do plan on editing this and telling you if it took a spot on this, but it really doesn't matter. Um, it's just the fact that they got Dune so right. I'm so ready for Dune Messiah. This movie has my favorite opening shot of the year with the guys lifting up. It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. And just not only the cinematography being on point, but just also having, certain elements to a film that you want. Like, the character of Paul Atreides is very mysterious, and how Timothy betrays him and stuff like that. But the fact that they have him do a complete 180, but it's not just in your face. It's not crazy. It's just this gradual edge into him becoming Lisan al-Gaib. And it's a movie I've seen the most this year. I think I've at least watched it 12 times. I've seen it twice in theaters. And it's just an amazing, amazing experience that you have to go watch. I would say I recommend an IMAX. I know it's not out anymore. But the IMAX experience for this movie was just incredible. The war action set pieces, the final fight scene, like everything about this movie is just so complete and so beautiful. And if you guys really agree with that list, please like and subscribe for more. And actually, instead of having arguments in the comments telling me I shouldn't have had challengers on here or my list should have been different, just give me your top 10 list. What are your top 10 favorite movies this year? I know there's some stuff I missed just in general this year. I didn't get to watch Flow because that never came out to my theater. And I feel like there's a few other movies out there that didn't get to my theater. But yeah, just let me know that, and let me know your most anticipated film of next year. And with that, I'll catch you guys on the next one.
I love my popcorn. Movies, popcorn.